Good morning, MUSE Conference number 7. Yeah, get comfortable.
I feel like I'm be close to you.
I know, be close to me, I like you close. This is my friend Lora of Lora DiCarlo. She's the founder and CEO. And before we dive into all that, I think it bears mentioning, last year I had the great good fortune of moderating a panel on menstruation, and this year I get to interview the lady who invented a device that stimulates the clitoris and the G-spot simultaneously. Christmas 2019 is going to be grand. Welcome to MUSE Conference. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Yeah, it's the best audience in the world, for sure. Always has been. Okay, so let's just briefly talk about what happened at CES. You invented this device, as I mentioned, what it does. You invented this device, you entered, you received this award, and then you go to pursue getting your booth for the exhibition. This is the largest electronics show like in the country, happens in Vegas. And then you find out from them that they didn't really have a place for you. Talk a little bit about that.
So it was more like we applied and they were trying to get us space, and then they're like, wait, you have a sex toy for vaginas? And that's when they stopped, and we didn't hear from them for about 3 days, and then we get an email with a whole bunch of legalese stating that they're rescinding our award. They're taking away our Robotics and Drones award at CES because our product could be considered immoral, profane, obscene, and that just blew my mind.
Well, and the reason why, and this is something that you all need to know, that why it's really extra offensive is that at CES, there are vendors representing companies that sell basically pornographic material for virtual reality geared towards men. So it's very offensive.
Oh, you forgot the part about the android that gives blowjobs.
Oh, I did forget that. Weird. And so, what happened next?
So we threw that back in their faces. We said, this is absolutely biased. It's completely gender biased. It's capricious and it's arbitrary. I mean, this is this last-minute strange decision because it's a product for female sexual health and wellness for people with vaginas. That's kind of odd. You didn't have any female keynote speakers in 2017 and 2018, not a single one.
And how did they respond to that?
Well, at that point, they sent us a message back saying, oh, there was a misunderstanding. You just don't qualify. You should have never applied in the first place. So we responded again, stating that we went through your vetting process.
Extreme vetting process. They vetted your company, they vetted your device. You went through another panel of judges. Like there were multiple rounds where they could have caught the error.
Yes. So, and we were given this award by a panel of expert judges in robotics, and the people that took away were the administrators. So we said that's absolutely ridiculous, and at that point they didn't pay attention to anything that we were saying. They just said, we're sorry, you don't qualify for any category, we're rescinding your award, and now you're banned from the show.
Rude. Well, but it actually ended up turning out sort of in your favor, right? Because you said, well, we're not going to let this go, we're not going to be quiet about it, and you got this mother load of PR for your company.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of the accolades and some of the attention that you've received. I mean, because like Cosmopolitan was like, we're all over that.
Oh yeah. So actually, we ended up going to the CES show, kind of. There's a press release show called Showstoppers there, where we went ahead and we got a booth there anyway. They loved having us. And at the end of the night, you know what they gave us?
Tell me.
An award in robotics.
Yeah, they sure did. Because your product is amazing.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, and I think that this also bears mentioning, this is a conversation around women's health. Right? This isn't about something obscene. This is not something profane. What you have created is really way ahead of its time, and also a little late if you ask me, but way ahead of its time. Totally breaking barriers, right? So it's and I think we talked about this. It really leads into this larger conversation where when we're learning about sexuality as young people, you flip open the book and you learn about the male anatomy, and there's like 79 points of interest. Mm-hmm. And then you flip the page to look at the female anatomy, and it's like, this is for babies. And then we flip the page and we talk about the lungs.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the male side, you learn about the erogenous tissue, where blood flows. You learn about innervation and how somebody has a heart on. And then you flip the page and you're like, vulva.
Yeah.
Babies.
And
that's
if
it.
you actually have one, you know there's more to it than that.
So that was what I did, what I did.
Well, let's dive into your background a bit, because I think that this is, right, actually, let's do that first. How did you get the idea for the device?
I had a really insane blended orgasm.
You said it knocked you on the floor.
Literally, I fell off the bed and like fell on my back on the floor and went, how do I do that again?
And this is the part that really sets you apart, because you were like, how do I do that again? So then she dove into the science.
Yeah.
She learned about the anatomy, you learned about what stimulates what, how to make it happen again. And then you're like, okay, how can I teach someone to do this for me?
Yes. So I have a background in healthcare, and I have kind of an obsession with female and human anatomy, and really started diving into the erogenous zones and how do I recreate this. And you can't do that with a product on the market right now because most of them are made by men. So I started designing something that would speak to being able to create that type of orgasm from the inside all the way to the outside without using vibration, that would actually fit and be completely hands-free, and that could customize to be able to fit hopefully about 90% of the people in this room. And that was what was really important. I wanted to actually be able to go inside and hit all the right spots and use what's called biomimicry, or the mimicry of human motions. So it feels like you're actually with a real partner.
Let's just let that settle for a little bit.
I'm done.
I will throw this mic on the stage. So as you said, so this is the part where it gets really interesting, right? Because now you're a woman in tech. You've started this tech company, but you initially had desires to be, you were going to go to nursing school, you went into the Navy, you wanted to be a doctor, and then you found yourself in tech. So talk about that, because
Yeah.
that's quite a leap.
Yeah, it was a bit of a pivot. I was actually pre-med. I was at PCC and PSU in Portland, and I was going to night school, I was working full time, sometimes 2 jobs, and I had this orgasm, and I was like, oh my God, I could make why is nobody doing this?
That is the question.
Yeah, so I started kind of designing it in the back, just in the back of my head, and about 2 years ago, I had an opportunity, and somebody said, sounds like you have an invention. I go, I guess I do.
I guess you
So we started designing it, and I ended up founding the company in 2017 in October, and we ended up working through Oregon State University in a partnership, a industry-sponsored research program with Oregon State University's College of Engineering and Prototype Development Lab and we started working with a bunch of the mechanical engineering students there, a couple of which now work directly for me.
Awesome.
Woo!
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's what I'm like.
Well, and so, I mean, for me, I'm like, okay, the other question is, like, what does it look like to be a woman in tech? What's the representation for, anyone other than, just lay it on the spot.
Well, one, just being a female entrepreneur is, I've told you, it's kind of like wrapping your lips around a fire hose and just waiting for somebody to turn it on while you're sitting on a rocket ship and trying to make a cheese sandwich at the same time.
It's intense.
It's really intense. Somebody asked what it's like to be a female in tech, and it's kind of like being a really pretty lionfish in a school full of minnows. So.
Ooh. Well, and why is that a problem? Tech is moving so fast for us. We need more diverse voices at the table.
Yes.
Creating some responsibility around how we develop and what we do and do not do. So, for me, I'm like, how do we solve this problem? Oh, bless you. I'll write jokes about more white men in the boardroom, and you're like, well, I'll start a company that celebrates a culture of diversity and inclusion, which I think is actually the way that you solve that problem. So tell us about your company and how it's been developed.
We're growing and we're changing every day, but really what our company is rooted in is our values are respect, empowerment, and integrity, and what that really does is it seats us very firmly in a culture of true inclusivity. So that means when you sit down and you're talking about hiring somebody, you don't look at them for what they look like or where they come from or what parts they have. It's all about the skill set and do they fit with the company? Are they a culture fit? And is this something they're going to be happy doing, and are we going to be happy with them? And that's when you start seeing more diversity within your company, within tech, within business, within VC. When you start looking at skill sets.
Right, and just for, I know we touched on this on the news stage before, but in VC, like, what's the percentage of women getting funds in 2%?
2%.
But then the success rate for women who receive VC funds is like,
well, yeah, okay, so it's 2% of women who receive VC funds for their startup businesses. 0.2% of that are women of color, which is really unfortunate. And but yeah, and it turns out that about 2% of all startups, all female startups or female-oriented startups, end up becoming what's called a unicorn company. Which compared to our male counterparts, I mean, that's mind-blowing. If all of startups, 2% of those became unicorn companies, there'd be a lot more billionaires.
just what we need, more billionaires.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I would love it if you were one. Yeah, I'm into it. And I wouldn't turn it down. Okay, so what are some of the challenges or like some of the things that you feel like really most proud about going along this journey? Because it's been super fast paced. I know just in between, we met once last week, we met this week, and in between that time, they're like, oh, Fast Company nominated me as the most creative CEO for 2019. Like, things are happening every single day. Yeah.
Honestly, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is my team. The ability to sit back and realize that I can't do this on my own, and that's really hard when you're a female or a female-facing person. I'm very controlling and I'm very much a perfectionist. So being able to sit back and go, I don't know how to do everything, but I'm going to find the right people to do exactly what I need, and we're going to build a team around like true skills and true expertise. Being able to relinquish a little bit of that control and trust in my team is, I think, one really pivotal point at growing a really, really great company. And one of the things that I saw on the other side, when we did do that CES leak and the world found out what happened, the amount of support that we got was, I mean, you always have like this kind of imposter syndrome, like, God, I'm gonna show everybody this like sex toy that I just created, and what if they didn't like it? And
they're gonna like it, right?
But when we went ahead and we did this leak, we find out that yes, the world says yes. The world says it's about damn time, and it's not just cis females. It's people in the LGBTQ+ community. It's people of color. It's cis white straight males are excited about it too. And to me, that says that I think like the world really is ready for a change. I mean, it's been long overdue, but I think it's
right. That affirmation is just gotta feel incredible.
Yeah.
Well, so how can we support you? I mean, other than #1 item on our Christmas list, like how can we support you growing this amazing tech company and doing the work that you're doing?
No, definitely. I mean, support women and women-facing businesses, minority-owned businesses, really help diversify tech. I think right now, if you're like folks that are in companies or on boards or within tech, within business, like one of the big action items I would say is to diversify your company, make it an absolute necessary thing, make it policy. It has to be policy. And find a diversity officer. Find somebody that knows what they're talking about and have them enforce that. Because the only way that we're all going to get a chance to sit at the table is if we really actively think about it and we actively make changes about it.
That's right. That's right. I want to reiterate this. You were in the Navy, you wanted to go into medicine, and then you found yourself in tech. So anyone can be in tech. Agree, disagree?
Oh, yes. Agreed. I think there's a lot of folks that are I heard somebody saying earlier, that a lot of folks in STEM, there's about 25% are female representing, and a lot of that number gets cut way down after they get into college, after they get into the workforce, because of this lack of ability to be introspective within a lot of males, honestly, and they don't understand that like nice guy misogyny is real.
Oh yeah, it is real. But as you said, we have to actively go out there and find voices that are different than our own, find faces that look different than our own, find backgrounds that are different than our own, because we have to be responsible with this huge tech thing that we're biting off.
Yes.
So how do we, right?
Yeah, and if you want to start your own business, don't stop. Don't think you have to be quiet. I never was. I really never am. But it happens to be. I was really saddened by the fact that in 2018 we saw a 25% drop in female CEOs across Fortune 500 companies. A lot of those are exiting for different jobs, but we went from only 32 women in CEO positions down to 24 in 1 year. And I think the representation of C-suite within all companies is closer to like 3.8%, which that number needs to change.
It needs to change. It needs to change quickly, and we'll feel it right away.
Yeah.
So how can we find out more about OSE, your product coming out later this year? Is there a website that we can direct everyone to look at?
Yes, of course. It's LoraDiCarlo.com. That's Lora DiCarlo. DICARLO.
And then you're also on social media as well. You're Lora DiCarlo HQ on Instagram and anywhere else that they
We're
should
on
be.
Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter. If you go to our website, you can actually sign up for our newsletter, which we are getting ready to release soon. But if you're on that email list, you will be one of the first people to know when it's available. And we are talking about doing a pre-sale, so you'll be one of the first people. Merry Christmas!
I mean, so many problems solved today. Lora, it's just so wonderful to sit with you. Thank you for joining